There we go. Hello and welcome to episode, I think this is 53 of the Dialogue Play. I am your host, Kojo, and I'm joined by my compadre, Basil. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. A lovely 3 points on Sunday, so I cannot complain whatsoever.
Good, good, good. For those of you who are listening, Basil is wearing a very expensive jacket in a very expensive location. As I told you, the rich, let's stay rich, man. We love that for him. But yeah, no, so obviously the big game of the midweek, for those of you who didn't know, there was games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. And it was Arsenal versus Man United, which ended 2-0 Arsenal. Two goals from Timber and Saliba, wasn't it?
Super. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, so my
two goals.
defenders. Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
Timber and Saliba both had it as well. One was a header, one was kind of a I don't
Ronaldinho,
know
Ronaldinho style skill that went in.
if you want to call it that, go for it. If you want to go for that. Firstly, I think let's just
Yep.
address the elephant in the room. So you guys are being criticized, or is it
Mm,
criticism? It's weird. It's a bit of criticism slash a bit of, I don't know, I think maybe a bit of jealousy about the fact that you guys are scoring a lot of set piece goals.
mm.
Now, what is your thoughts on how Arsenal are being perceived in relation to those a lot of you scoring a lot of headers recently and set piece goals and corners?
It's definitely more jealousy, just because for me, if teams have a problem defend properly, the only reason why Arsenal are able to capitalize as they do with the set piece is because teams don't defend properly. And when you look at United's defending last night, they had zero idea how to defend against Arsenal on those set pieces. And a lot of teams are the same. I mean, there's times where it hasn't kind of come off. I mean, we've looked a lot more threatening and we've utilized it more as a weapon, but I think teams don't utilize it more enough. I mean, like I said, for Arsenal, I think they are at the moment sometimes too heavily reliant on that, but it's fine. It's all part of football. You score different ways, and in the end of at the end of the day, it's the results that matter. And if Arsenal are threatening through set pieces, then it's up to teams to learn how to defend those more effectively. So I can't see why fans or people, pundits, are complaining about it. Just defend better. That's my that's my whole thing on it. Just defend better. If you defend better, Arsenal don't score as much goals as they do from set pieces.
Yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, I was thinking obviously because when I was watching the game and I watched the highlights as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that you like to do is you obviously like to crowd that 6 yard area.
Yeah.
When the ball comes in, it goes directly into that area. And what I feel like teams don't seem to catch up. Go on.
Yeah. I'll tell you one more thing. And teams are their own worst enemies because what a lot of teams now do now is zonal marking against Arsenal. So
Mm.
rarely do you see them. They may pick up one or two, but a lot of them do zonal marking. And I'm like, well, I'm not the biggest fan of zonal marking. And so if you're going to zonal mark, do it properly. So that's the reason why Arsenal are very dangerous in set pieces because they're able to run into the space. Some players just without any pressure from somebody actually marking them. So what teams are hoping is that Arsenal don't play a good ball so that their first or second man can head it out. But
Mhm.
sometimes yes, you can have the free man marking space, but you need to pick up your man better, which I think teams don't do properly when they play against Arsenal, which is another reason why we do look a lot more threatening with our set pieces because teams are now adopting a zonal marking approach against Arsenal, which isn't great.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I was going to allude to that because I was going to say I think number one, I think the best thing to do is man mark, even if it looks a
Yeah.
bit odd, sort of tracing the players back to when they go to the far post.
Mm,
At this point, it's not about man marking and just keeping an eye on them. You need to be aggressive going towards the ball also. You need to be
100%.
aggressive as the attackers. But what also you guys do is crowd the 6 yard area. And what I feel like
Yeah.
teams tend to forget is when you are defending, unfortunately for you, because the attackers are going into that area, the ball is going into that area, you by force will also be crowding that area as well. So you have to
Mm,
find a way to deal with it. I think the one thing that teams need to start doing against
mm.
Arsenal is utilizing the goalkeeper to get a lot more fouls because your players are interfering with the goalkeepers a lot,
Yeah.
especially Ben White. And it's kind of like the on the line sort of behavior where some referees will say, I can give that because I think he's nudged him a little bit. And some referees will say, look, you got to be stronger. You got to be stronger. You got to be tougher. What do you
I will
say?
say, I will say this, two things. You made one very good point, and then I'll highlight the goalkeeper aggression. the issue you have now with modern day defenders compared to them, they're not aggressive. I remember back in the day when I used to watch defenders, they were very aggressive with and obviously now I need to be a bit more smart with VAR, but they will but I'm not talking about man, I'm not even talking about holding, but just putting their body across to someone or making sure that they're strong. We've lost the aggression now from a lot of defenders, which is why teams like Arsenal can get away with what they do in the box. Because when you look at, and I'll speak to my brother about this, I said, when you look at Gabriel, when he's going in for headers, all or nothing, it's 100% going in. Some Arsenal defenders do it, but when you look at the defenders, they lack that aggression. And I think that's what defenders need to regain again, that aggression. I mean, I only see it from a handful of defenders like the likes of Van Dijk or Kanate, where they have that aggression and they use their physicality against the attackers or whoever it is that they're marking. A lot of defenders don't, which is why Arsenal can kind of do what they're doing. I was watching the game on the Wednesday. The Licks and even Euro when he came in, they lacked that aggression when Arsenal did have the set pieces. The second thing where Arsenal are a bit smart in terms of distracting the goalkeeper is that back in the day, I think a lot of strikers were very aggressive in terms of how they put their body in across the goalkeeper. So the goalkeeper can kind of feign, oh, he's impeding me a lot. What Arsenal do is they kind of block, but they're not too aggressive with how they kind of encroach the goalkeeper. They kind of like move in, putting their body there, but they're not putting their body there very physically. They're kind of just putting it there slightly, then a bit of movement here, then a bit of movement there, so that when the ball does come in and the keeper wants to flap or pretend that he's been kind of fouled, when you actually look at the replays, there isn't much contact, which is where Arsenal are kind of smart as to how they kind of distract the goalkeeper. There's a little distract and then there's a little like come away from him. So at least then when the ball comes in, they're not near the goalkeeper or kind of doing too much on the goalkeeper where the referee can blow the whistle. And that just means, and as I said, another thing, going back, even I've talked about aggression with defenders, keepers need to command their areas a lot more, a lot better. That's one thing keepers lack, the command of the areas. We've lost the days of when the likes of Schmeichels, even Jens Lehmann, when he used to come in, they used to command their areas when the ball used to come in. A lot of keepers don't do that. And it makes me question what they do in training. Because when I used to play football, one of the things coaches used to do with goalkeepers is swinging the ball in and making sure they come out to firmly catch the ball or command the ball, or come out to make sure that they actually get a hand to the ball. Whereas now what you see is keepers come out and they flap at the ball. So keepers lack that command of the area. And like I said, it's the modern day football because now they want them to do more on their feet rather than more of what the base of what goalkeepers should be doing. And this is the result of what you get. So teams will exploit all of those weaknesses that we're seeing in terms of the modern day players we're getting from both defenders and goalkeepers.
Yeah, and add to that as well, because I agree with everything you said there. To add to that, I think it's a bit more of trying to be intelligent with how you deal with the set piece
Mm,
as a
yeah,
goalkeeper. Because the reason I brought up Ben White is because I think I can think of about three or four instances where he's maybe just done a little, no, I can't call it an elbow because he's not like that,
yeah,
but his arm is up a little bit, he's just in the
yeah,
way. And there's times when he just puts his body there, it looks like he's standing there.
yeah.
Us man, we know he's there for a reason, but as a goalkeeper, you also know that he's there for a reason. So
Mm.
maybe start that contact with him in the first place. Get him a bit more, how's he gonna move? So when he does make that movement, then you can get that impediment. Even if it goes in, you still got this to go on, don't you?
100%.
Got a bit of that
But,
to
but
go.
one thing I don't see goalkeepers do enough, Kojo, is pushing players out the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Back
saying.
in the
Move
day,
him,
when the
move
fellas
him.
were there, they used to absolutely move them out of the way. Now goalkeepers are there, or they're calling the defender to come and block, and I was like, push them out the way. Or if you need to like move them, so at least they're not impeding you. But a lot of keepers seem to just allow players to kind of just they do this and allow players to kind of just do whatever they want with them, stand there, nudge them, budge them, push them.
Hmm.
But like I said, as I would say, we're losing recipes with the kind of players that are coming through.
Right, facts. So onto the game. Obviously, like I said, you
Yeah.
won 2-0. The overall performance, were you impressed by your performance in the over the whole 90?
Really not. It's definitely one of our worst performances I've seen in a long time. I mean, the first half was absolutely diabolical.
Hmm.
And ultimately, what it was, I think it was more a reflection of United rather than Arsenal. Because I think when Arsenal got the first, because what United were looking to be defensively structured and not give Arsenal many opportunities and maybe try and hit Arsenal on the counter and on the break here and there. Because of that, the first half was terrible with very minimal chances. The issue is that Arsenal scored the first goal and didn't need to do much more apart from control the game. And what it showed is that when United kind of tried to attack, it showed that they lacked. It shows Amarim has a bigger job on his hand because it showed that United actually lack quality
Mm.
going forward or putting things together. And Arsenal were very, very comfortable. And Arsenal were like, well, we don't need to really exert ourselves or push ourselves too much. So Arsenal were very patient in terms of looking for the second goal. They definitely needed the second goal. But then as soon as they got, like I said, because United didn't defend the set pieces very well, when Arsenal got the second goal, they were very comfortable in just controlling the game. They didn't actually play too well. And in the final third, Arsenal actually weren't very great in the final third. So it was really the set pieces where we looked dangerous and obviously the set pieces where we got to go. But I think it was more a reflection of where United are because Arsenal, like I said, didn't play well or didn't even need to come out of being a 5 or a 5.5 out of 10 to win that game.
Mm.
Whereas United, it shows that uh, they really lack quality as a whole, and it's a bigger job there for Amarin, if I'm being brutally honest. So it's more reflection on United than it is Arsenal, because Arsenal have Fulham on the weekend, and I think that'll be a much tougher game. Considering obviously yes, we were at home for United, but I think Fulham will be a much tougher game for us than the United game on Wednesday, just because of where the two teams are.
Yeah, no, no, I understand that because when I saw United's lineup, I kind of knew what the plan was. But he was very clear, saying players like Ahmad and Rashford were burnt out, which is not good, by the way. They were burnt out after the weekend's game, which is again is not very good to even hear that. But I think for someone like Ahmad, I can maybe understand that a bit more because he's never been a wing back, so he's not been doing
Like,
this by
yeah,
himself ever in his career, whereas he's expected to do that now. So I understand that side of the burnout, but regardless, we made a lot of changes. We didn't have Martinez available, suspended as was Mainu. So you
mm.
saw Fernandez
I
in the
was Manu suspended.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you have Fernandez in the further back sort of midfield position, and you had Maguire start. But what you said about the final third and going forward is why I agree with because you could see, especially in that first half, you're right, it was a bit more to sort of restrain Arsenal a little bit. Um, I think the best chance of the first half actually fell to Dallo. He should have gone on
Hello, yeah.
target at least. I was very disappointed with that one. He should have gone on target at the bare minimum. But you could see from defense to midfield, the structure was there. They knew how to move the ball from there to there, but from midfield to the attacking line, it looks like they don't know what to do. And the key thing for me was when Ahmad came off the bench, the ball kept on going straight to his side, because there's a lot more confidence of what he can do on the ball on that side rather than getting the attacking unit to work. But these things will take time. And that's why I was even upset with the result. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not mad at it because it's not even a disrespect to Arsenal. The reason why I brought up set pieces in the first place, I think it's very good to use their strengths. If Arsenal are stronger at it, they use it. They weren't opening us up too much in open play, so they use their second strength. Not even second strength, one of their best strengths is set pieces now because they're scoring a lot of goals. I think the stat is in the last year or 2 years, you scored 22 goals from set pieces. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So,
I'll say this. It was quite worrying watching Arsenal because, like I said, I know we're harping about this a lot. Our summer, it came to roost again because
mm,
Havertz pose absolutely no threat whatsoever up front. Trossard lacked real. I don't know what's going on with Trossard. He lacked any real quality out wide. So did Martinelli when Trossard came on. Martinelli is just a poor player that offers us nothing. I don't understand why Sterling rarely gets a kick. If I'm being brutally honest, but it shows us that out of our three attacking players, we have a big issue in two positions, which were the two positions where we were crying out for recruitments in the summer, which is up front and on the left hand side.
right.
Because as you said, if it wasn't for the set pieces, it was one of those games where you said, where was the goal coming from? Because we really lack, if it's not coming through Saka or coming through a corner, we really lack our striker or our left winger really pulling their weight.
Yes.
And I think that was very worrying for me because I'm like, well, what happens when you come up against a team that actually defends set piece as well? How are we going to create some of the chances that we need and who's going to put some of those chances to bed? Because they did have chances and didn't take them on Wednesday. No surprise. And then also United also have a problem because I don't think Garnacho should be anywhere near your team, to be honest. I feel like or anywhere near your starting lineup, if I'm being brutally honest. He just lacks quality. I don't know what he offers you. I don't even know what his key strengths are as a footballer. He seems like someone who's trying to base his game off Cristiano Ronaldo, but even lacks 50% of what Cristiano Ronaldo had when he was at Manchester United.
Yeah.
And so there's an issue there, but I'm surprised that he's still starting games and that Amarim is selecting him. And because for me, I'm getting you're trying to see what players can do, but then what I do is I like managers who come in and see things very quickly.
Right.
And it is a concern that, like Garnacho, for me, we've seen what he's done under Ten Hag, very little. We've seen what he's done under Amarim, very little, and he's still getting selected. I would have started Rashford ahead of Garnacho. I know he said he was burnt out, but as much as Rashford isn't in, I don't know what's going on with Rashford. He still offers you a lot more than what Garnacho offers you out wide, personally.
Well, that's actually, yeah, interesting you said that about Arsenal because
Mm.
before I go to United as well, it's
Yeah.
I won't say I wasn't impressed by Arsenal. I think that'd be a bit too harsh for me to say. But what I will say is I noticed very quickly that when you face a team, just like most teams should do, when you face a team that is structured in, how they want to restrict the better team in that scenario,
Yeah.
Arsenal couldn't find the way through. And it's something that I've said about many teams is you need more than one creative outlet. So obviously, when you guys were missing Odegaard, you were still winning games, but you could feel his presence was not there. Then he's come in, he's your chief creator, and what that means is not about his assist numbers. He's the guy that maybe makes the pass that unlocks the defense, and then like for you on the weekend when you play that ball for Saka to play the ball across to Havertz or Trossard, whoever it was, for that goal to make it 2-0 on the weekend he wasn't allowed that freedom in the game on Wednesday. So when he was
Okay.
restricted, the rest of the team didn't know really what to do to open up the defense, which is not good because ideally for you, when you've got players that have speed or a decent bit of agility and quickness like Saka and Martinelli, you want them to be going direct. You want them to try and beat one or two players. They weren't doing that. Um, and then the rest of the team doesn't offer a creative outlet, maybe because you've got centre backs by trade at right and left back, for example, which is also a problem. So that could, I'm not saying it will because regardless, you guys have been getting results over the last 2 years, but it could cost you when it comes to trying to push on to get closer
I,
to the two
I,
drop points on
I think it will cost us because it's always in the games that matter, but it don't. I mean, you look at 2 years ago, it was the games that matter. We kind of need to offer something to a lot of teams. It didn't happen.
Hmm.
Same as the year before that, when we were going for full place, and then we went up against Newcastle and Tottenham. It didn't happen then. Same last season when we went up against Villa and Bayern Munich, which is always our issue. In those key games where it matters, that's where we always fall short for those specific reasons. And I think the same is going to happen this season, and we're going to revisit this again. It's going to be one key match where it's like, okay, you need to win, and teams are going to structure that way. And I feel we're going to be devoid of ideas, and because it always happens. And I don't see this team any different from the team we've had last season. We're still trying to win things with exactly the same players, as last season. So, and and obviously we knew we needed something different, and we don't have that something different this season in terms of player. So we'll see. And it's not as if the other players have stepped up a level this season. I still think they're operating, that even the likes of Saka, I still think he's still operating the same as how we operated last season. I haven't seen that elevation from him yet. Obviously, it may come because he's still 22,
Hmm.
but it's still the same as last season. Whereas you look at, I don't know, look at Liverpool. Mo Salah for me is elevated this season from what we've seen last season and probably the season prior. Um, Van Dijk has stepped. Obviously, Van Dijk came back from the injuries, but he's stepped it up again this season. And so that's what you're looking for. If you're going to do it with the same players, you need those players to elevate themselves from the level they were playing prior. And I don't see that from those Arsenal players yet. For me to say, oh, anything's going to be different when it comes to crunch time.
Yeah, well, we will see what happens with you guys. With United, I think my message to United fans is just don't panic. This is going to take some time, but we've known it's going to take some time for some managers already. But you've got a manager now who's already told you from day one that this is a very long-term project. So, you guys need to understand that things are going to take time. And more importantly, I think what's very important to me is in the last, I say 48 hours, I can't remember when
Mm.
he said that he knows what his best 11 is already.
Mm.
He just needs to get through this Christmas period because a lot of players are not 100% fit. They've
Yeah.
restricted a certain amount of minutes. He wants to play someone like Euro, but Euro's just come back. So Euro couldn't play more than 20 minutes on midweek, which is fine. He's a young boy. You don't want to rush a young boy back from an injury that he's been out for about 4 months. You want to take his time, take your time with him. So no panic stations there. You play a team that's been better than you over the last couple of years, and they were better than you on the day, which is absolutely fine. It's not what you want. No one ever wants to lose to Arsenal if you're a Man United fan, but that's the reality right now. So it's going to take some time. But I'm satisfied with the manager. I'm satisfied with performance. And the reason I'm saying this is because, as you know, the same people are fine. It's the insane people who gonna make stupid comments like, I'm not sure, man. Did you see Rude one on the week, or what Rude one with Leicester? Yeah, that's great for Rude and Listra and Leicester, but that's not the same scenario whatsoever.
But
So
here's
yeah,
the difference. I'll say this last one at United. The difference is Rude was there from the beginning of the season. So he kind of so when Ten Hag had gone, he's been there long enough to know what works and what doesn't work and kind of what he can kind of tweak to kind of correct some of the results because he's been there for how many months.
yeah,
Amarin's so when people try to use him, like Amarin's just come in. He's coming in absolutely fresh-eyed with no experience as to what's been happening with this team, what the players are like. Whereas Ruud van Nistelrooy has an idea and a taste because he's been there so long and coached with them day in, day out for a period of time. So you can't. So when people try to compare the two men, you can't because they're talking about someone who's just joined with no idea of anybody compared to
yeah,
someone who's been there. And secondly, I think United fans need to see this season as experimental
yeah,
because it's the only way you can see it. I think it's more, and even next season, I don't even think you can even judge him harshly because I think you can only start to judge him depending on how the United board operate in the summer in terms of players. Because if he's not supported in the market, how can you expect much from him?
yeah,
If obviously they're able to kind of identify the right players, get rid of players and bring in the right players, then you can start to say, okay, maybe we can have some expectation of it. Still being patient, but some expectations, increased expectations of him to see what he can truly do. But I think you just have to see the season experimental results will kind of differ week in, week out because one is still the same players, and I think a lot of players there just aren't good enough. So we'll see.
yeah. Well, that was United Arsenal on Wednesday, and they both got games on the weekend. So I am going to share just a quick screen share of the fixtures that are coming up um, on the weekend. Can you see the fixtures on the screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Fantastic. Okay, so Everton, Liverpool. So Liverpool off a 3-3 draw at Newcastle, wasn't it? Yes, at Newcastle away from home. Um, Everton fresh off a 4-0 win against a team that's also under pressure in Wolves. How do you see this game going?
Which on Everton, Liverpool.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a Liverpool victory. I think because Everton for me are just so poor. Forget the fact that it's a derby. Usually, like when it's a derby match, I'd usually go for a draw Everton Liverpool because it's that kind of match. And usually at Goodison Park, Liverpool tend to lose themselves in that and tend to make it more of like a more passionate affair.
yeah,
Whereas I think Arne Slot coming in, I don't think he really cares for any of those like derby semantics. So I think Liverpool are just gonna have way too much for Everton, and I can see it potentially being like a 3-4 nil because I think Everton are just that poor of a team that I can't see it being anything but a Liverpool victory.
fair, fair. I'm going to echo that as well. I think there's very, very rare times Everton have recorded a victory against Liverpool or even a draw. Um, I don't think it's going to be one of those days. I think Liverpool are in too much red hot form, and even if they're not playing well, they've got a certain player who just keeps scoring and scoring and
There you go.
scoring. And everyone at this point, everyone knows I'm talking about Salah. I don't even say his name, really and truly. 3 o'clock. Brentford, Newcastle. Brentford lost 3-1 away to Aston Villa. Newcastle, as we said earlier, they drew 3-3. How do you see this one going?
True. I think Newcastle are one of those teams. Their weird team is that at home they get up for these big matches against these big boys. Like they're one of the most difficult teams to play at home when the likes of City, United, Arsenal, Liverpool go and play them. Apart from that, Newcastle are such an inconsistent team that I think Brentford. Yeah, I think it'll be a draw. I just can't see Newcastle doing anything. Even though they drew against Liverpool, I don't think they'll take inspiration from that whatsoever because they're that kind of team.
Yeah, nah, I think Brentford will squeeze a win here. Um,
That wouldn't surprise me too.
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. Newcastle are a bit iffy, but we've seen days in the past where you think, Newcastle, don't know, then they go and smack four away from home. But
Mm,
then next week, as you said, that inconsistency just seeps back into them.
yeah.
Um, so we'll see. Is that great performance against Liverpool? We'll see if he's up for it the same way. But Brentford, I think, will squeeze in. I think Wissa has a great record at home, so I'm backing him to score some more goals here. Aston Villa, Southampton. Southampton were 1-1 against Chelsea, got a red card, and then boy, it just sorry, no, they were 2-1 down.
2-1, yeah.
2-1 down. And honestly, I'm gonna say this for the last time, 'cause I'm tired of saying this. You don't have the minerals to play the ball out from the back with this team in this league. I'm sorry, stop doing it because you're just conceding goals unnecessarily. Um, they lost 5-1. Brentford, as we mentioned about going to Villa losing 3-1. Might be a silly question, but how do you see this one going?
I don't think anybody sees Southampton winning this game or even getting a draw. I think Villa are lucky because Villa have been very inconsistent too, and they're lucky that this week or this weekend they're playing Southampton, who are the worst team in the league. And as you echo what you said, I just do not understand the life of me why teams are trying to play out from the back when they do not have the quality to play out from the back. Now, it's one thing attempting to play out for the back. Is another thing when, since the beginning of this league or the first few matches of this league, you've been unsuccessful and you're still going on trying to play out from the back.
Yeah,
It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's even worse when you're playing against the top, when you're trying against the top teams. Did they not learn their lesson against Liverpool? And they're still trying to play out from the back against Southampton. Even when they played Arsenal, they were honestly, do you not I mean, if you're gonna do it against teams within the same position as you, relegation teams.
yeah.
But don't do it against teams who have so much quality going forward. Like it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I have nothing more to say about them personally. Palace, Man City, Palace finally got a win, a 1-0 win away at Ipswich. City have returned to winning ways. Well, I say winning ways, they've won a game. Let's see if they're back in form or not. Um, but they go away to Crystal Palace. How do you see this one going?
Funny enough, I see City just squeezing a victory. I can see this being a 2-1 to City. So, ironically, Palace are usually a difficult team for City, and I don't know why they
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
But then also, Palace are at home, so I think they take comfort from being at home. And the funny thing, City still aren't defensively great. And I think if City do have lapses, depending on what Palace team you get, Palace could hurt City. They could
yeah,
hurt City,
yeah.
as we've seen in the past when they have played City. So I still think City have enough to win because I don't think Palace are defensively that stable. So I can see this being potentially a 2-1 to the Manchester City. But I
Yeah.
don't think it'll be an easy game for City.
No, no, I don't think it will either. I think it's gonna be a draw. I'm looking at the game. I'm thinking, could be a draw. Maybe that's just me being hopeful. But City beat Forest 3-0 at the Etihad. Nottingham Forest do not leave Manchester. They are playing at Old Trafford in the late kickoff on Saturday. Man United, of course, as we said, lost 2-0 to Arsenal. Game beforehand, they won, I think, 4-0 at home against Everton. Um, United Forest. How do you see this
Yeah.
one?
The same as so Forest are difficult because same is like Forest played City in the midweek and Chris Wood missed a 1-1 when they were I think 1-0 down to make it
Yeah,
1-1. So
yeah.
once again alluding to the fact how City aren't defensively great. But funny enough, I see United winning this game. Like people are hooting Nottingham Forest's horn and put it this way, they've done well, but I always say to people context. Because there's a difference, because usually what I do, same with Brighton, context where people saying can they kind of sustain what they do. And I always say no because I look at how they perform. And the things that's when Forest are winning games, they're not convincingly winning games in terms of it could be a game where they've lost or drawn, depending on if the other team have taken their chances. But they kind of just snuck a few victories, which is why they're where they are, which you can applaud. But then I can't see them sustain it. I see United actually winning this game personally.
Well,
I actually see United winning this game.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say what you're saying about them winning at the same time. You're also right to question them because if you look at a couple of their performances recently, so they beat West Ham
Mm.
3-0,
Yeah,
but then they lost 3-1 at home to Newcastle,
yeah,
lost 3-0 to you guys,
yeah,
beat Ipswich 1-0, and then lost 3-0 to City. So what I'm saying, look, losing to Newcastle City and Arsenal is actually not terrible in
yeah.
hindsight, really and truly. It's not. But the form that people were talking about them being in, they're not in that same form right now. I'm not trying to take anything away from them for anyone listening. I know the teams they
Mm.
lost against are not they're not small teams. They're teams that are doing well. But regardless, the form has dropped off a little bit. You have to deal with what you have to deal with in this league, unfortunately.
People
That's
got
how it
carried
works.
away. People got carried. I couldn't believe it, Kojo. People got carried away so early in the season talking about can they get back into the Champions League and everything. I was thinking, come off it, man. This is a team that have been kind of battling relegation over the last what 2, 3 seasons that have been in the league. I think 2 seasons, and all of a sudden they were talking about because they were there earlier on, them finishing Champions League. I remember when Brighton under the Zerbi were there. I think there was even a period under Potter,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
maybe the first few games they were in like the top four. And look how quickly you fall off because you realize the quality starts to show over a long period of time.
yep.
And obviously, like I said, the big boys have the depth, have the quality to sustain that over a season. Unfortunately, these teams don't. And yeah, that's the case. But I can see United winning it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna go for United win as well. I think we're gonna see a bit more of our more usual 11. So Martinez will be back, Mainu will be back. So I think you see them start, and Ahmad will probably go number. If I'm lucky, number 10. I don't want to see him having to do this again, but we'll see. He does it well, but I think we just need to play him where he's best at, and hopefully that's in that number 10 position. And we go to Sunday, the two PMs. We have four of them. Sorry, we have three of them. Sorry, but we go to the one of your team, of course. We discussed Arsenal earlier. Fulham, they won. Did they win? Was it two? Did they win against Brighton?
Two
2-1, wasn't it?
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
they won
2-1.
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 against Brighton.
I think they're like fifth. I think they're like six. I think, or maybe fifth. Maybe is it six? It's either fifth or sixth. Fulham are. Could be
Yeah,
six.
yeah, they're doing well in the league. Doing very well in the league. Seems like the Arsenal contingent that they signed are doing all right for them as well. But for them, Arsenal, what are you saying?
See, my heart says an Arsenal win, maybe like a 2-1 or potentially a 2-0. My head says potentially this could be a draw because it's Fulham and Fulham at home, and Fulham always cause us problems. No, actually, I say Fulham of recent have caused us problems. And obviously, this is a Fulham who are in decent form, very, very confident. That said, Fulham defensively aren't always stable. They're so inconsistent. Sometimes they may look decent defensively. Sometimes they're not. I'll say this before I go. I don't think Calvin Bassey personally is a Premier League player, quality player. Honestly, so many errors come from, and when you watch him, the amount of times he just gives away the ball or does something silly is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't think he's Premier League quality, and I think Fulham are lucky that they're in a position that they're in league wise with him at the back because he's a calamity in waiting. Um, but this is one of those games where I don't think Arsenal will create much opportunity from open play personally,
right.
because I think generally Fulham in the last few matches they found ways to kind of stifle us, and I think they do the same again on the weekend. Um, Listen, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal, but it wouldn't surprise me if we draw this game. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that you guys lose, but that's not going to happen. So I'll go for an Arsenal win. Leicester Brighton, Leicester 3-0 win against West Ham. I know you want to
Mm.
talk about certain managers, so we'll get there, don't worry. Brighton, who did Brighton? Oh, Fulham,
They
yeah.
lost. They lost to
Yeah,
Fulham.
Fulham,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was just speaking about them. Ruben Nistre, second game at home again. Lucky start into his
Mm.
Leicester career. Um, how do you see this one going?
Ah,
It's a weird one, isn't it? It's a
it's
weird
a
one.
weird one because if it was before Ruth came in, I think I'll put
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
But then they looked, even West Ham, but they looked good against West Ham, so you can kind of see like he's having an impact. I'm gonna go draw.
Draw?
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the fence and go draw with this one.
Yeah. I'm going to be a full Ruud van Nistelrooy stan, and I want another win. So let's go Ruud. Ipswich at home again. This time to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, who just came off a win against Spurs. Ipswich, as we mentioned earlier, 1-0 loss at home to Palace. But regardless, not a terrible performance by them in the slightest, just not good enough, really. Ipswich, Bournemouth, you got a prediction for us?
Yeah. This is another tough one because I just don't know what Ipswich team is going to turn up or what Bournemouth team is going to turn
Yeah,
up. I'm just going to go slight Bournemouth victory. I'm going to go Bournemouth victory this one.
victory. Yeah, I think I echo that as well. It's a shot. They're decent, but I think Bournemouth will have too much for them. Um, Now, Chelsea have the chance to do something that I feel like a lot of their fans have been dreaming to do all season. And that could be deal Tottenham such a catastrophic loss that it forces the hand of Daniel Levy, and you might be saying bye bye Ange. And I feel that's more because of the fans rather than him doing a what you call a bad job.
Bad job, yeah.
Now, I keep calling them weird this season because I think they have the third best goal difference in the league this season, but they're 10th, which is baffling. So Tottenham, Chelsea. I mean, I can't really say that you're gonna be doing favorite in this one because you hate both of them. So which
Yeah.
one? So what are you saying for this game?
Oh, yeah. Tottenham are a funny team, man.
Honestly.
Because listen, if it was a mid-table team or a team or certain teams in the bottom half of the league, I would have said a Tottenham defeat.
Hmm.
But Tottenham are a weird team where they come up against these certain big boys, and they seem to put in a performance. Uh, and that's why I can't even predict this game because obviously Chelsea once again still have the defensive flaws. Southampton should have had more than one goal during that game, and they didn't. I'm actually going to go a Tottenham victory, as much as it pains me,
Okay.
because I think Tottenham at home probably will turn up against Chelsea. So I'm going to go a Tottenham victory. But I would say this: Ange has if Ange is sacked, let's say Tottenham lose or Ange is sacked at some point, he has nobody but himself to blame. Absolutely nobody but himself to blame. Is one thing, and obviously, but in the past, I've always bemoaned about Tottenham managers in terms of some of them not having the quality of players or being supported in the market. But sometimes they do themselves a service in terms of the tactics and how they deploy things or try to deploy things on the pitch. Ange for me doesn't help himself with his stubbornness and his one style of play, which he just refuses to deviate. You can have a style of play, but you can always make tweaks and make adaptations to make sure that in certain situations you don't find yourself losing or dropping points. And Ange, for me, is one of those managers. It's the same tactics, it's the same structure, same defensive, same defensive tactics he puts out with the high line and the way they try to play, and it's always their undoing. And then he'll come out in a press conference, and it's more like, "I will do what like basically you can't tell me what to do. I'll continue to do this. This is where I want to do it. We're gonna live and die by that." But you can't manage that way. There's certain times where you kind of, if the game's not going your way, change things. Or certain matches, tweak things and change things. But he seems to have one style of play and he lives and dies by it. And it doesn't always work out because of that. And you can't be consistent in the league if you continue to operate that way. So if he is sacked, I have zero sympathy for him if he's sacked because I'm like, at this point, it's self-inflicted.
Yeah, so where I no, I do agree because I was going to
Mm.
say you are very much aware that you don't have Van de Ven, you don't have Romero,
Yeah.
you definitely don't have Vicario for a while now. So the replacements that come in, maybe Dragusin can, but
Mm.
Ben Davies and Fraser Forster have not played that brand of football before, so you might
Yeah.
have to be a bit more conservative, and that's not a bad thing. So that's
Mm.
where I feel like he's laying himself down a little bit because sometimes you have to
Yeah.
realize as a manager these players just can't do it. So whilst maybe I still might have Porro and the doggy who can do the going in and
Mm.
that, even your midfield, you have so many sort of unfit midfielders. You don't know when Bissouma's going to be fit. You don't know when Sarr's going to be fit. You don't know when Bentancur's injured again. Madison
Mm,
is in and out of the team because of injury or lack of fitness sometimes. Like it's not that you have bad players, it's about your lack of availability in a lot of these players. And if you ain't got that consistency, sometimes you have to change things. What I will say is
mm,
what I do sympathize is
yeah.
and if anyone Spurs fans listening, I'm not trying to say he hasn't been backed because Bayern van der Ven is someone that he wanted. I think Solanke is someone that he wanted. So the kind of players they brought in have made sense. But it's not only him, but it's a problem that's spread throughout the whole Daniel Levy thing is
Mm,
when Tottenham are building teams, when they've had their good periods, it's always been the 11 that's great. And then the rest are a bit, so you're hoping that that 11's fit. Now, I think it's a damn shame considering how long that Ben Davis, and I'm using Ben Davis as a key point here. Ben Davis has been there a long time now, right? And in this time, Spurs have had maybe two consistent sort of partnerships at the back.
yeah.
But when one goes missing out of injury or suspension or whatever it may be, they don't ever have a backup that you say is, yeah, you can throw him in there, there'll be no problem, even if it's for one a game or two games. They haven't sorted out that issue. And because they don't have that, it's like they always go and buy another player for the forward line. Most recently, they signed the person that's supposed to be the next South Korean son. So
Yeah,
another
that's right.
another
Yeah.
South Korean winger. But what about the stuff that's happening at the back that needs to be controlled, especially in the middle? Fraser Forster should not be the second choice goalkeeper for Tottenham. He should not be that way. I'm not saying that's all Daniel Levy as a manager, as you said, and I agree you have to tweak things, and that's where he's to blame. But this is going to keep happening with this club. This
It
is
will. It
happening,
will.
happening. Sack him. Bring him another manager who you want to play the same kind of brand of football because that's what they brought him in for. We want a start attacking style. We want a pretty brand of football, and we want a high pressing style. And he said, "Well, that's my style, and I'm going to stick to that." Fine. What's going to happen is if they do sack him, they're going to look for that exact same or very similar profile, and it's going to be the same cycle over and over and over.
Which,
It's not
which is
going
a
to change. Nothing's going to
which is
change.
a which is a thing, Kojo. And like I said, we don't even have enough time to talk because you could spend so much time talking about the problems outside of the manager. I'll say this quickly with the manager and obviously Levi, because the two things that when Arsenal had Odegaard injured, the first thing Arteta did, and obviously last year was he was criticised for it, but he understood that well, I don't have anyone as creative as him, so I kind of need to change the style.
Mm,
Now, obviously, like I said, you live and die by that. Obviously, some results didn't go our way. A lot of the performance definitely didn't go our way. But obviously, that's a manager that understands that. Oh, hold on. When I need to tweak things, I need to tweak things because then I can't just continue to do the same things because we don't have the same capabilities to do it. So he understands that. Okay, even though I may get criticized, I have to adapt and change things, rightly or wrongly. So, but at least he has an understanding. I need to change something somehow. And that's the issue I have with Ange is that there isn't, like I said, you mentioned a number of players injured. The other players don't have the same capabilities as this player, so you need to adapt and tweak things. You can't expect them to do the same things and expect the same level of quality and
yeah,
then bemoan when it does happen. But then the thing, as you said, with Levy is that, as you said, it's going to be continually be the same thing because the issue at Tottenham is not the manager. It's always been upstairs and how they've built squads and the way they've gone about building squads. And I like the fact you mentioned that they brought that young Korean player to come in. Same as in the summer, they brought in Bergvall, a very, very young player to come in. Now he's not really playing that many games. They're relying on the manager trying to maybe bring in the likes of Mickey Moore to kind of come in and, add that squad depth. You can't build teams that way. If you're going to buy a youngster, make sure it's a youngster that's ready to contribute, not a youngster or youngsters where it's like, oh, they're promising and we're hoping maybe in the next 3 or 4 years things turn up because by then you're now entering a new cycle, whereas you want to add
yeah.
to what you have so far rather than add. And then obviously by the time maybe they're coming through as a new cycle and then you're having to once again add again. That's not the way you build a squad.
Yeah, well, I think I speak for you and probably all Arsenal fans and probably all Chelsea fans when I say I'm sure you guys hope that Tottenham continue to suffer. I just said a Chelsea win here, and by the way, just a warning to Tottenham as well. make sure that you don't do what you did last season and get two men sent off and then go concede 4 goals unprovoked. Don't do that. Um, West Ham Wolves. Now this game could determine
Mm,
who is in and out of a job. Olopetegui is under pressure. West Ham fans are not very happy with him. However, they've not been as vocal as the guys at Wolves
yeah.
have been because they're fans. If you think, I mean, well, the Spurs fans were very mad after the Bournemouth game, right? And we've seen the clips there. I'm not going to repeat what they said. Um, if you think they're mad, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've always thought that Wolves fans are the most conservative fans ever because I've never seen a video or heard a clip of a Wolves fan getting mad. And then I go on Twitter and I see a 30-second video and I hear more F words than someone that has Tourette's. Crazy, crazy. El Sakiko, that's what they're going to call it. Monday
Thank you.
night.
I was looking for the right name to call it, but you called it. You finally brought out the name because I think what can you call this match? But yeah, El Sacco is fitting for this match.
Yeah. How do you see this one going, man? You gonna
Oh
score?
yeah,
You gonna
oh
score?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I don't even know because it's absolute disgrace. That one is a disgrace. West Ham losing with the amount of goals that they lost at Leicester. Absolute disgrace. If you're going to lose to Leicester, make it tight. Then it's even more disgraceful that Wolves allowed an Everton team to put four against them. Everton.
Even one,
I
two of them were own goals from the same player.
do them own
Looking at a
goals.
nightmare.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring goals too. Like I can't buy a goal these days, and you're landing to score against you. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. I, I genuinely don't even know. I can't even give you I can't even say draw. I can't even give you a team. I'm just gonna go Wolves for no, and there's no reason why I'm going Wolves.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this: if they draw, they're both getting sacked. I'm just saying that's me. I think nothing else done. I think they'll be done right there and there. They can walk out together. Um, but yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll stop sharing that. That is the fixtures for game week. What's that? 15 for
Mhm.
anyone that plays FPL. That's for you guys as well. So make sure you do your teams by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, guys. But yeah, I think we can round it up there. Basil, thank you so much for your time, of course. I say thank you for your time as if you're a guest. You're part of the whole style of playing team, man. You're the family team. So yeah, man. Yeah, Basil's good, man. Like I said, for people that are listening, and for the people that are watching as well, I told you, look at the jacket that Basil's wearing. Very rich, very expensive guy. You know, he's living life. I'm not gonna say the country he's in right now. I'm saying that if you're in that country, you just gotta have a bit of this. You know what I'm saying he's living good, man. He's living good. Look at the watch he's wearing as well. I have a watch like that, but that's not the point. Yes, yeah, look at him. He's living good, man. But yeah, Basil, anything to plug before we go?
Um, just get ready in when does the Premier League end? In May for the parade that's going to happen in North London, and that's the only thing I want to plug.
I think he's talking about the parade of Spurs fans celebrating when Andy Postecoglou gets fired. But yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. I don't know what else he could be thinking about. But yeah, man. Kojo Free Midfield on Twitter. If you want to come and talk football, come and talk football. Someone's really at me saying, "Why do I think is not all Andrew's fault?" And I can't lie to you. I don't really want to say it to a Tottenham fan because I'm just going to get bombarded with them. So let them say it. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, style of play. Leave your comments in the where they go in the comments. Let us know what you think, and yeah, on to the next episode, which probably will be Monday or Tuesday next week. But next week's Champions League, so probably on Monday. All right, peace out.